So we're on page 3 of the Chapter 3 practice test for geometry, starting with number 17 up at the top. We're going to mark the two angles so we notice that they are alternate exterior angles, and alternate exterior angles should be congruent. So we're going to take those two expressions and put an equal sign between them. And then we're going to solve algebraically. So I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides, and then I'm going to add 4 to both sides. You can do that in 2 separate steps or one, like I did. 9x minus 7x is 2x. 8 plus 4 is 12. Divide both sides by 2 and you get x equals 6. Mark the angles. They're alternate exterior.
Hi. I'll be here later today, okay?
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
So they should be congruent. So we're going to set these two expressions equal to each other. We're going to say 17x plus 1 equals 120. Subtract 1 from both sides. Divide both sides by 17. So x should be equal to 7. Do that on your calculator. And 19 and 20, these are alternate interior, which should also be congruent. So put an equal sign between them. Subtract 15x from both sides. Add 1 to both sides. These are opposites, these are opposites. 17x minus 15x is 2x. 5 plus 1 is 6. Divide by 2, so you should get x equals 3. Number 20, these are also alternate interior. So they should be congruent. So put an equal sign between the two expressions and then solve algebraically. So we're going to subtract 132 from both sides. And we get x equals negative 7. All right. So it is okay to get a negative answer for your x value. Just you want to make sure that if you were to plug it back in, you wouldn't get a negative value. And clearly, if you plugged negative 7 in here, you wouldn't get a negative value. Okay, for the angle measure. All right. Jumping down to the bottom, this time you want to find the measure of the circled angle after solving for x. So we want to do what we did in the previous set of problems, but then we need to plug it back in for the circled value. So go ahead and mark the two angles and realize that these are alternate interior angles, so they should be congruent. So we're going to put an equal sign between the 11x plus 2 and the 10x plus 10. Subtract the 10x from both sides. Subtract 2 from both sides. These are opposites, these are opposites. 11x minus 10x is 1x. 10 minus 2 is 8. That's our x value. Now we have to plug it back in here. So we're going to say 10 times 8 plus 10. That should be 90 degrees. Okay? Now let's do 22. We have same side interior. So these should be supplementary. That means they should add up to 180. So I'm going to say x plus 103 plus x plus 93 is equal to 180. Combine our like terms. So on the left we have 2x. And 103 plus 93 is 196. Subtract that 196 from 180. So 2x is equal to negative 16. Divide both sides by 2, so x is equal to negative 8. And we just need to plug that into the circled one. I think the top one was the circled one. So we have negative 8 plus 103. That should be equal to 95. All right, number 23, these two are corresponding. Corresponding angles are congruent. So we're going to put an equal sign between the 40x and the 39x plus 3. Subtract that 39x. This one's pretty easy. So x is equal to 3. Plug it back in. So 39 times 3 plus 3 should get 120 degrees. 24, these two are alternate exterior angles, and they should be congruent. So we're going to put an equal sign between the 18x minus 6 and the 17x plus 1. Subtract the 17x from both sides. add 6 to both sides. These are opposites, so we have x equals 7. So we need to plug the 7 back in, plug it to the one up top, so we have 17 times 7 plus 1. So that should be equal to 120 degrees. All right, flip your paper over to the back. And we are on number 25. Number 25 says, find the measure of the indicated angle that makes the lines U and V parallel. So in order for these to be parallel, these two angles, because they're same side interior, should be supplementary. So x plus 129 should be equal to 180. Subtract the 129. So x should be equal to 51 degrees. These two are alternate interior angles, so they should be congruent. So in order to make those two lines parallel, if this one's 51 degrees, this one should also be 51 degrees. We have the same answer? Yep, we sure do. All right, 27. These two are corresponding, so they should be congruent in order to make these two lines parallel. So if this one's 87, this one should be 87. These two angles are alternate exterior, which should be congruent in order to make those two lines parallel. So if this one's 47, this one should also be 47. Jumping down to 29, it says find the value of x that makes the lines parallel. So now we just, same as up above, but now we have a little bit of algebra thrown in. So if these are alternate interior angles, they should be congruent. So we're going to say 9x plus 6 equals 10x. No, I should have written them on the other side. So I'm going to subtract 10x from both sides. Subtract 6 from both sides. These are opposites. These are opposites. So I have negative x equals negative 6, which means that positive x equals positive 6. And that's the value that would make those two lines parallel. These two angles are corresponding, so they should be congruent. So 96 plus x should be equal to 86. Subtract the 96. So x should be equal to negative 10. Number 31, these two angles are alternate exterior. So they should be congruent. So let's put an equal sign between the 8x plus 6 and the 54. Subtract 6 from both sides. So we have 8x equals 48. Divide both sides by 8. So x should be equal to 6. These two are same side interior. So they should be supplementary. So if we add them up, they should equal 180. So 10x plus 10 plus 100 equals 180. So we can combine these to get 110. So if I subtract 110 from both sides, we'll have 10x equals 70. Divide both sides by 10. So x should be equal to 7.